Yo, what's going on? Devil in the White City part. I honestly don't even know how much I've recorded at this point. Just know that whatever part you're reading, I'll have the accurate title of it. I just don't know what it is. This might be 15 or 6. No, this is 16. Yeah, damn, this is 16 already. Alright, got some synthwave music flowing. It's a Thursday, or Friday Eve as I like to call it. And I'm when you not overstudy, but when you've just been studying for so long, you become a zombie of yourself. I'm in that phase. My test is going to be for next Tuesday, so it's going to be fun. Let's go ahead and jump into the chapter. If I can find it, here we go. The chapter's title is called Heathen Wanted. Despite his misgivings, Olmsted left the completion of the exposition landscape in the hands of Ulrich and adopted a punishing schedule of work and travel that took him through 16 states. By mid-June, he was back at Vanderbilt's North Carolina estate. Along the way, in rail cars, stations, and hotels, he solicited the views of strangers about the fair while keeping his own identity a secret. The fair's lackluster attendance troubled and perplexed him. He asked travelers if they had visited the fair yet, and if so, what they had thought of it, but he was especially interested in the opinions of people who had not yet gone. What had they heard? Did they want to go? Did they plan to go? What was holding them back? Everywhere there is growing interest in the exposition, he told Burnham in a June 20th letter from Biltmore. What the hell is Biltmore? Is that Baltimore back in the day? Everywhere I have found indications that people are planning to go to it. First-hand accounts of the fair were sparking heightened interest. Clergymen who had seen it were working the fair into sermons and lectures. He was delighted to find that what visitors liked best were not the exhibits but the buildings, waterways, and scenery, and that the fair had surprised them. People who had gone to the fair have, in the main, found more than the newspapers have led them to expect, he concluded. There is a rising tidal wave of enthusiasm over the land. Okay. Alright, so sounds like things are going good. Let's go ahead and get into a bush here. Let's do some looting. I feel like I'm falling pretty low, right? Oh, these bots are already here. Let's do some looting. Let's get into a bush here. Beautiful. Alright, not a bad start. I did see some chests here, so let's go ahead and do what we must. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started reading the book, I was a little hesitant to decide as to whether or not I actually liked it. But, here we are, and I actually do enjoy it. It's not bad. Something tells me that's a better decision. Alright, looks like we gotta make a move here, so let's go ahead and loot these last chests and get the hell out of here. Go into a bush and keep reading. I wonder why we never land here at these places. These seem like very, very good places to land at. Yeah. Can't go wrong with a little ammo. Anything in here? Jello. Let me know if you like the synthwave. I like the synthwave, but if it's annoying to the ear, let me know. I think it's like a blanket made out of just coolness, right? It's a blanket made out of coolness to the ear. I like it. I don't mind this. Somebody else is here. Can I carry more of these? I can't. Whoa, dude. Whoa, I didn't know that. Okay. I can stack those bad boys. What do you know? What is this place? Have I ever been here? Oh, these are such gems of places, man. Hello? What do we got? What do we got? A drill? I'm not against it. That's at my 5. My 5 key has a drill. Oh, there's another drill there. Interesting, interesting. Okay, somebody was here. How do I get up there? Actually. Alright, let's get into a bush. Do snowy parts have bushes? We're gonna have to keep moving. Jeez. Where did I land, man? Not complaining, this is a good exploration journey. Gonna make the video maybe 5 minutes longer, but you know what? It's worth it. Okay, I know where this is. Alright, that's a bit of a risky place to play. I see a bush. I like the bush. Let's go ahead and attack that bush. Get some safety up in that piece. Alright. Haha, April Fools. Alright. Let's continue reading. But he saw that the other factors were exerting a countervalence force. While personal accounts of the fair were enthusiastic, Olmsted wrote, nearly always incompleteness as referred to, favoring the idea that much remains to be done, and that the show will be better later. Farmers planned to wait until after harvest. Many people had put off their visits in the expectation that the nation's worsening economic crisis and pressure from Congress eventually would compel the railroads to reduce their Chicago fares. Weather was also an issue. Convinced that Chicago was too hot in July and August, people were postponing their visits until the fall. One of the most pernicious factors, Olmsted found, was the widespread fear that anyone who ventured to Chicago would be fleeced unmercifully. And that's fair, right? If there are a lot of rumors about crime, you got murderers running around, yeah, I can see that. Especially in the fair's many restaurants with their extortionate prices. This complaint is universal and stronger than you in Chicago are aware of, I am sure, he told Burnham. It comes from rich and poor alike. I think that I have myself paid 10 times as much for lunch at the exposition as I did a few days ago, for an equally good one in Knoxville, Tennessee. The frugal farming class yet to come to the fair will feel this greatly. Okay, so it's like Disneyland, right? $7 waters. I can see what they're going on here. They had to find a way to finance it, and they're gouging people's eyes out. Olmsted had another reason to worry about high meal prices. The effect, he wrote, will be to induce people more and more to bring their food with them, and more to scatter papers and offal on the ground. OFFAL. It was critical now, Olmsted argued, to concentrate on making improvements of a kind most likely to increase the gleam in the stories people took back to their hometowns. This is the advertising now most important to be developed. That of high-strung, contagious enthusiasm growing from actual experience. The question being not whether people shall be satisfied, but how much they shall be carried away with admiration and infect others by their unexpected enjoyment of what they found.
With Asana, AI teammates can pull real-time data.
I fucking hate Asana.
So every team can work smarter and faster.
Don't tell me what the fuck to do. Why don't we pass a law, right? Let's make throwing people off the Empire State Building legal again. Let's do that. We don't need to make the country great again. Gotta make... Sorry, I see the yellow circle in front of me here. So I'm gonna have to move in 17 seconds. I'm going straight at this guy, and this guy has a likely, weapons from the black market. Gosh, what's the play here? I go that way, I go into the city. I go that way, I go into another city. Damn. I just gotta make sure he's not coming out of this way. Well, guess that's the way it goes sometimes, man. I have no heals whatsoever. I don't see any heals for your boy. Let your boy know. Uh-oh. Dude, I got no heals here. That dude is probably pissed. He's like, dude, what a fucking rat, dude. In my defense, whoever you are, I'm reading my book. So technically, it's your fault for getting in my way, if you think about it rationally. I don't... Oh gosh, I need some level of healing, man. Little house, maybe? Little house, maybe. Ooh, Karibo. Drop this effing laser. Laser or gloves? I got a shotty. I feel like the gloves would do me a little better. Short range. It's assuming I use them correctly. This turret business. No, you little bastard. Get over here. Get over here. Get over here. Come here. You bastard. Alright, this will be my bush. We will keep reading, but this is my bush. Alright, let's continue. It was critical now, Olmsted argued, to concentrate on making improvements of a kind most likely to increase the gleam in the stories people took back to their hometowns. Alright, I already read that. Towards this end, he wrote, certain obvious flaws needed immediate attention. The exposition's gravel paths, for example. There's not a square rod of admirable, hardly one of passable, gravel walk in all of the exposition ground, he wrote. It appears probable to me that neither the contractor nor the inspector, whose business it is to keep the contractor up to his duty, can ever have seen a decently good gravel walk, or that they have any idea of what good gravel walks are. What are the defects of your walks? Your walks, he says here, not mine or ours. Even though the walks were the responsibility of his own landscape department, in some places there are cobbles or small boulders producing from the surface upon which no lady with summer shoes can step without pain. In other places, the surface material is such that, when damp enough to make it coherent, it becomes slimy, and thus unpleasant to walk upon. Also, without care, the slime is apt to smear shoes and dresses, which materially lessen the comfort of ladies. His voyage to Europe had shown him that a really good gravel path should be as even and clean as a drawing room floor. So the details are getting extremely, picky, and rightfully so. I mean, they put a bunch of money into this piece of shit circus, and people are complaining about things, and rightfully so, right? If you can't walk on a regular path because it's all dirt infested, and probably, you know what happens when just dry dirt has a bunch of rain all over it. You know exactly what happens, right? It's muddy to walk through, and nobody wants to do that. It's not worth it. The hell is this? The hell is Joss? So we can squeeze. Ooh, I see that. Let me get some distance here. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to move here. Such a bad spot to be in right here. Alright, Avatar Aang, didn't mean to do that to you, but, you were in my way, bro. Let's get in position. We're already in the top 10. As long as I can get some decent positioning here. Should be okay. That shotgun is doing me well. This is a very open landscape here. If I can get to that open field, should be in a better position. I don't want to alert them to where I am any more than I have to, of course. I don't want to be too high ground either, because if I get hit by a bat, it's game over. Alright, so showing one in front of me. They're both exactly where I have to go. Let them do what they have to do to each other. Let them be boyfriends for a second. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You know, just not my preference. Okay. Short range, I gotta use either the shotgun or the gloves, man. One or the other. It's the way it has to go. It's the way it must be. Oh, for fuck's sake. Ugh. I effing hate that, man. Just sandwiched, nowhere to go. Let's keep reading. The cleanliness of the grounds also fell short of European standards, as he had feared it would. The hell is European standards? Aren't they dirty as fuck out there? Litter was everywhere, with too few men assigned to clean it up. The fair needed twice as many, he said, and greater scrutiny of their work. I have seen papers that had been apparently swept off the terraces upon the shrubbery between them and the lagoons, Olmsted wrote. Such a shrinking trick in a workman employed to keep the terraces clean should be a criminal offense. He was bothered, too, by the noise of the few steam vessels that Burnham, over his repeated objections, had authorized to travel the exposition's waters alongside the electric launches. The boats are cheap, graceless, clumsy affairs, as much out of place in what people are calling the court of honor of the exposition as a cow in a flower garden. Yikes. Okay. So it's like these... Why'd you put a yacht in a lake? That's what they're getting at. It's like, dude, put a yacht in an ocean. Like, putting a yacht in a lake does nothing for me. Olmsted's greatest concern, however, was the main Jackson Park portion of the exposition simply was not fun. There's too much appearance of an impatient and tired doing of sightseeing duty, a stint to be got through before it is time to go home. The crowd has a melancholy air in this respect, and strenuous measures should be taken to overcome it. Just as Olmsted sought to conjure an aura of mystery in his landscape, So he urged the engineering of seemingly accidental moments of charm. The concerts and parades were helpful, but were of too stated or programmed a nature. What Olmsted wanted were minor incidents of less evidently prepared character, less formal, more apparently spontaneous and incidental. He envisioned French horn players on the wooded island, their music drifting across the water. He wanted Chinese lanterns strung from boats and bridges alike. Why not skipping and dancing masquerades with tambourines, such as one seen in Italy? Maybe because this isn't fucking Italy. You know, people are still being, sold the American dream every single day. Italy, they already figured it out. They're like, hey man, the Roman Colosseum been broken the hell down. We already know what it is. It's just a bunch of BS. People promise you stuff, they never deliver. Oh, this jackass is taking my house, really? You really want to do that? Oh, you're such a clown. Alright, loot up, get a car. Loot up, get the car. Loot up, get the car. Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Hello? Oh, no way. Oh yeah, that's what I want. Oh shoot. Jeez, man. Oh, not again. Here we go again. High ground. This is not gonna end well. Oh, one shot? Really? What am I doing? Oh, no way, no way, no way, no way, no way, no way. Thank you.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card.
Really an
Apply for
ad
Apple
right
Card in
now?
the Wallet
That's
app
really
and
what we're
start
doing?
using it right away with Apple Pay. Subject to
Oh.
credit approval. Apple Card issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Salt Lake City
Nobody
branch.
ever
Terms and
use
more at
Goldman Sachs. Don't
applecard.com.
ever buy an Apple Card. Don't ever go to Goldman Sachs. Anybody who's an advertisement, don't ever use them. Don't ever use them. Trust me, don't ever use them. If they're so effing annoying to bother you when you're playing Fortnite and reading a book, they're not worth your time. Trust me. Let's continue. Even lemonade peddlers would help if moving about in picturesque dresses, or cake sellers appearing as cooks with flat cap and in spotless white from top to toe. On nights when big events in Jackson Park drew visitors away from the Midway, could not several of the many varieties of heathen, black, white, and yellow, be cheaply hired to mingle, unobtrusively, but in full native costume, with the crowd on the main court? Can we hire a bunch of people to just be people? Yeah, you can do that, I guess. When Burnham read Olmsted's letter, he must have thought Olmsted had lost his mind. Burnham had devoted the last 2 years of his life to creating an impression of monumental beauty, and now Olmsted wanted to make visitors laugh. Burnham wanted them struck dumb with awe. There would be no skipping and dancing, no heathen. The exposition was a dream city, but it was Burnham's dream. Everywhere it reflected the authoritarian spandrels of his character. From its surfeit of policemen to its strict rules against picking flowers, nowhere was this as clearly evident as in the fair's restrictions on unauthorized photography. I got hiccups right now. I don't know why. Sorry about that. Burnham had given a single photographer, Charles Dudley Arnold, a monopoly over the sale of official photographs of the fair, which arrangement also had the effect of giving Burnham control over the kind of images that got distributed throughout the country, and explains why neat, well-dressed, upper-class people tended to populate each frame. Yeah, because you don't want to show that poor people go there too. A second contractor received the exclusive right to rent Kodaks to fair visitors, the Kodak being a new kind of portable camera that eliminated the need for lens and shutter adjustments. In honor of the fair, Kodak called the folding version of its popular model number 4 box camera the Columbus. The photographs these new cameras created were fast becoming known as snapshots, a term originally used by English hunters to describe a quick shot with a gun. Anyone wishing to bring his own Kodak to the fair had to buy a permit for $2, an amount beyond the reach of most visitors. The Midway's street in Cairo imposed an additional $1 fee. An amateur photographer bringing a conventional large camera and the necessary tripod had to pay $10, about what many out-of-town visitors paid for a full day at the fair, including lodging, meals, and admission. For all Burnham's obsession with detail and control, one event at the fair escaped his attention. On June 17th, a small fire occurred in the cold storage building, a castle-like structure at the southwest corner of the grounds built by Hercules Iron Works. Its function was to produce ice, store the perishable goods of exhibitors and restaurants, and operate an ice rink for visitors wishing to experience the novelty of skating in July. The building was a private venture. Burnham had nothing to do with its construction beyond approving its design. Oddly enough, its architect was named Frank P. Burnham, no relation. The fire broke out in the cupola at the top of the central tower, but was controlled quickly and caused only $100 in damage. Even so, the fire prompted insurance underwriters to take a closer look at the building, and what they saw frightened them. A key element of the design had never been installed. 7 insurers canceled their policies. Fire Marshal Edward W. Murphy, acting chief of the World's Fair Fire Department, told a committee of underwriters, "That building gives us more trouble than any structure on the grounds. It is a miserable fire trap and will go up in smoke before long." No one told Burnham about the fire. No one told him of the cancellations, and no one told him of Murphy's forecast. Okay. So, buildings are going up in flames. Love that. Very LA of them back in those Chicago days. This song, I'm going to take 20 seconds to listen to this song. It kind of smacks. Why don't you shoot your effing gun, dude? He's under the goddamn car. Go get him. I want to see how this plays out. Dude knows where he is. He's under the car. He's not going to get him. What a puss. Oh, sweetheart, no. Oh, you're such a wanker, dude. And that's the end of that subsection. Moving on to the next subsection. It's called At Last. At 3:30 p.m. on Wednesday, June the 21st of 1893, 51 days late, George Washington Gale Ferris took a seat on the Speaker's platform built at the base of his wheel. The 40-piece Iowa State Marching Band already had boarded one of the cars and now played My Country 'Tis of Thee. Mayor Harrison joined Ferris on the platform, as did Bertha Palmer, the entire Chicago City Council, and the assortment of fair officials. Burnham apparently was not present. The cars were fully glazed, and wire grills had been placed over all the windows so that, as one reporter put it, no crank will have an opportunity to commit suicide from this wheel. No hysterical woman shall jump from a window. Look at that, accusing women of being hysterical and jumping out of windows, even back in the 1800s. Women, man, I'm telling you, man, women are different creatures. They are different creatures, you know. Conductors trained to soothe riders who were afraid of heights stood in handsome uniforms at each car's door. The band quieted. The wheel stopped. Speeches followed. Ferris was last to take the podium and happily assured the audience that the man condemned for having wheels in his head had gotten them out of his head and into the heart of the Midway Plaisance. He attributed the success of the enterprise to his wife, Margaret, who stood behind him on the platform. He dedicated the wheel to the engineers of America. Mrs. Ferris gave him a gold whistle. Then she and Ferris and the other dignitaries climbed into the first car. Harrison wore his black slouch hat. When Ferris blew the whistle, the Iowa State Band launched into America, and the wheel again began to turn. The group made several circuits, sipping champagne and smoking cigars, then exited the wheel to the cheers of the crowd that now thronged its base. The first paying passengers stepped abroad. The wheel continued rolling with stops, only for loading and unloading until 11 o'clock that night. Even with every car full, the wheel never faltered. Its bearings never groaned. The Ferris Company was not shy about promoting its founder's accomplishment. In an illustrated pamphlet called The Ferris Wheel Souvenir, the company wrote, "Built in the face of every obstacle, it is an achievement which reflects so much credit upon the inventor that were Mr. Ferris the subject of a monarchy instead of a citizen of a great republic, his honest heart would throb beneath a breast laden with the decorations of royalty." All right, so this dude got his flowers. Good for him. Ferris could not resist tweaking the exposition company for not granting him a concession sooner than it did. Its failure to appreciate its importance, the souvenir said, had cost the exposition company many thousands of dollars. This was an understatement. Had the exposition company stood by its original June 1892 concession rather than waiting until nearly 6 months later, the wheel would have been ready for the fair's May 1st opening. Not only did the exposition lose its 50% share of the wheel's revenue for those 51 days, it lost the boost in overall admission that the wheel likely would have generated and that Burnham so desperately wanted. Instead, it had stood for a month and a half as a vivid advertisement of the fair's incomplete condition. Safety fears lingered. Ferris did what he could to ease them. The souvenir pamphlet noted that even a full load of passengers had no more effect on the movements or the speed than if they were so many flies, an oddly ungracious allusion. The pamphlet added, "In the construction of the Great Wheel, every conceivable danger has been calculated and provided for, but Ferris and Gronow had done their jobs too well. The design was so elegant, so adept at exploiting the strength of thin strands of steel, that the wheel appeared incapable of withstanding the stresses placed upon it. The wheel may not have been unsafe, but it looked unsafe. In truth, it seems too light," a reporter observed. "One fears the slender rods which must support the whole enormous weight are too puny to fulfill their office. One cannot avoid the thought of what would happen if a high wind should come sweeping across the prairie and attack the structure broadside. Would the thin rods be sufficient to sustain not only the enormous weight of the structure and that of the 2,000 passengers who might chance to be in the cars, but the pressure of the wind as well? In 3 weeks, that question would find an answer." Alright, so that's the end of that subchapter. We'll move into the next one. How's this dude's game going? 14 left. This dude is in a Jeep 4x4. This is there somebody up there? I'm not crazy, am I? I thought I saw somebody up there. Yeah, somebody's up there. Oh, dude, do it to him. Oh, no. Oh, no. I think it's fair to say this guy kind of missed his mark a little bit. Just a little bit, right? Let's go ahead and start this subchapter. It's called Rising Wave. And suddenly they began to come. The enthusiasm Olmsted had identified during his travels, though still far from constituting a tidal wave, at last seemed to begin propelling visitors to Jackson Park. By the end of June, even though the railroads still had not dropped their fares, paid attendance at the exposition had more than doubled. The average for the month rising to 89,170 from May's dismal 37,501. It was still far below the 200,000 daily visitors the fair's planners originally had dreamed of, but the trend was encouraging. From Englewood to the Loop, hotels at last began to fill. The Roof Garden Cafe of the Women's Building now served 2,000 people a day, 10 times the number it had served on opening day. The resulting volume of garbage overwhelmed its disposal system, which consisted of janitors bumping large barrels of fetid garbage down the same 3 flights of stairs used by customers. That's gross. The janitors cannot use the elevators because Burnham had ordered them turned off after dark to conserve power for the fair's nightly illuminations. As stains and stench accumulated, the restaurant's manager built a chute on the roof and threatened to jettison the garbage directly onto Olmsted's precious lawns. Damn. Yeah, treat us right, or I'll throw this garbage on your beautiful new architecture. Burnham retracted his order. The fair had become so intensely compelling that one woman, Mrs. Lucille Rodney of Galveston, Texas, walked 1,300 miles along railroad tracks to reach it. "Call it no more the White City on the Lake," wrote Sir Walter Besant, the English historian and novelist and cosmopolitan. "It is dreamland." Even Olmsted now seemed happy with it, although of course he had his criticisms. He too had wanted to manage the first impression of visitors by having a central entry point. The failure of this idea, he wrote in a formal critique for the Inland Architect, deducted much from the fair's value, although he hastened to add that he was making this criticism not in the least in a complaining way, but as professional, offering guidance to others who might confront a similar problem. He still wished the wooded island had been left alone, and he decreed the unplanned proliferation of concession buildings that intercepted vistas and disturbed spaces intended to serve for the relief of the eye from the too nearly constant demands upon attention of the exposition buildings. The effect, he wrote, had been bad. Overall, however, he was pleased, especially with the process of construction. "Really," he wrote, "I think that it is most satisfactory and encouraging circumstance that it could be found feasible for so many men of technical education and ability to be recruited and suitably organized so quickly and made to work together so well in such a short time. I think it a notable circumstance that there should have been so little friction, so little display of jealousy, envy, and combativeness as has appeared in the progress of this enterprise." He attributed this circumstance to Burnham. Too high an estimate cannot be placed on the industry, skill and tact with which this result was secured by the master of us all. Let me take off my jacket. Let's get cool here. Let's keep reading. Visitors wore their best clothes as if going to church and were surprisingly well behaved. In the 6 months of the fair, the Colombian Guard made only 2,929 arrests, about 16 per day, typically for disorderly conduct, petty theft, and pickpocketing, with pickpockets most favoring the fair's always crowded aquarium. The Guard identified 135 ex-convicts and removed them from the grounds. It issued 30 fines for carrying Kodaks without a permit, 37 for taking unauthorized photographs. It investigated the discovery on the grounds of 3 fetuses, a Pinkerton detective assaulting visitors at the Tiffany Pavilion, and a Zulu acting improperly. In his official report to Burnham, Colonel Rice, commander of the Guard, wrote, "With the tens of thousands of employees and the millions of visitors, it must be admitted that our success was phenomenal. With so many people packed among the steam engines, giant rotating wheels, horse-drawn fire trucks, and rocketing bobsleds, the fair's ambulances, superintended by a doctor named Gentles, were constantly delivered bruised, bloody, and overheated visitors to the exposition's hospital. Over the life of the fair, the hospital treated 11,602 patients, 64 a day, for injuries and ailments that suggest that the mundane sufferings of people had not changed very much over the ages. The list included 820 cases of diarrhea, 152 constipation, 21 hemorrhoids, 434 indigestion, 365 foreign bodies in the eyes, 364 severe headaches, 594 episodes of fainting, syncope, and exhaustion, 1 case of extreme flatulence, and 169 involving teeth that hurt like hell. One of the delights of the fair was never knowing who might turn up beside you at the Chocolate Venus de Milo, or at the hearse exhibit, or under the barrel of Krupp's Monster, or who might sit at the table next to you at the Big Tree Restaurant, or the Philadelphia Cafe, or the Great White Horse Inn, a reproduction of the public house described by Dickens in the Pickwick Papers, or who might suddenly clutch your arm aboard the Ferris wheel as your car began its ascent. Archduke Francis Ferdinand, described by an escort as being half boot, half tightwad, roamed the ground incognito, but much preferred the vice districts of Chicago. Indians who had once used hatchets to bare the skulls of white men drifted over from Buffalo Bill's compound, as did Annie Oakley and assorted Cossacks, Hussars, and Lancers, and members of the U.S. 6th Cavalry on temporary furloughs to become actors in Colonel Cody's show. Chief Standing Bear rode the Ferris wheel in full ceremonial headdress, his 200 feathers unruffled. Other Indians rode the enameled wooden horses of the Midway Carousel. I'm going to turn on my flashlight. If you're not following, basically what they're saying is that it's a huge success, and they're just describing kind of the visuals of what's going on, what's going down, how everybody's kind of getting in on the show. There were Paderewski, Houdini, Tesla, Edison, Joplin, Darrow, a Princeton professor named Woodrow Wilson, and a sweet old lady in black summer silk flowered with forget-me-not blue named Susan B. Anthony. Burnham met Teddy Roosevelt for lunch. For years after the fair, Burnham used the exclamation, "bully." Diamond Jim Brady dined with Lillian Russell and indulged his passions for sweet corn. No one saw Twain. He came to Chicago to see the fair but got sick and spent 11 days in his hotel room, then left without ever seeing the White City, of all people. Okay, so it was like a who's who of just dignitaries, actors, famous people, and just important people in general. You know, they showed up. definitely showed up and showed out, showed support for Chicago and the fair, which is good. I mean, that's kind of what you want to see, right? You don't want to, no disrespect, but you don't want a bunch of nobodies going to your fair if, you know, a lot of money's riding on it, right? You want a bunch of somebodies going to your fair. Let's go ahead and see if we can get a good landing here. Try to get into some bushes. I need a super weapon, man. That last game, I don't know what happened. I don't remember. No, I do remember. I just didn't have good loot. Where's this bastard at? Oh, you fucker. Come on, come on, come on. Give me something good. SMG, I can work with that. 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 Come on, come on. Pump it up, pump it up. Give me all this. Give me all this. Give me all this. Give me all this. My pumping dump on 4. Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? You know there are people here. You know that. Was that 4? Beautiful. Okay. Under. I see. Alright, let's get into a bush here somewhere. Let's get ridiculous. By 5. Come on, 5, 5, 5, 5. Come on. Reload everything. Let's fight a little if we can. Not to get too crazy. Alright, that's the train. Don't care about that. Now you know people landed here. You know that. Let me get this llama. We'll go into a bush, we'll keep reading. I like that. I like that a lot. Just gotta make sure. Ooh. Yeah, I need to keep these. Oh my gosh, man. Decisions, decisions, decisions. Little practice never hurt anybody in between a reading break, you know? Dude's to my left. What's up, son? What up, son? Let's see if I can catch him off guard. That's how you gotta win these battles. You gotta strike first, you know what I mean? Where'd the bastard go? Oh, damn, minigun. All right, you know what? I respect that play. I respect the hell out of that play. Oh, 11 HP. Damn. Dude, you know what? I got a little too happy with the what do you call them? With the gloves. If I would have AR'd that, smarter play. You know what? It happens. Damn, let's continue reading. Let me take a swig of water. Gotta wet the old whistle. Chance encounters led to magic. I like that. I'm gonna underline that. I believe the same thing. Chance encounters do lead to magic. All right, let's continue. Frank Haven Hall, a superintendent of the Illinois Institution for the Education of the Blind, unveiled a new device that made plates for printing books in Braille. Previously, Hall had invented a machine capable of typing in Braille, the Hall Braille Writer, which he never patented because he felt profit should not sully the cause of serving the blind. You're in the wrong country thinking that, homeboy. As he stood by his newest machine, a blind girl and her escort approached him. Upon learning that Hall was the man who had invented the typewriter she used so often, the girl put her arm around his neck and gave him a huge hug and kiss. Forever afterward, whenever Hall told his story of how he met Helen Keller, tears would fill his eyes. Oh, nice. One day, as the board of lady managers debated whether to support or oppose opening the fair on Sunday, an angry male Sabbatarian confronted Susan B. Anthony in the hall of the women's building to challenge her contention that the fair should remain open. Anthony was not a lady manager and therefore, despite her national stature, could not participate in the board's meeting. Deploying the most shocking analogy he could muster, the clergyman asked Anthony if she'd prefer having a son of hers attend Buffalo Bill's show on Sunday instead of church. Yes, she replied. He would learn far more. Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo. It's funny and a burn because it's true. To the pious, this exchange confirmed the fundamental wickedness of Anthony's suffragist movement. When Cody learned of it, he was ticked, and so much so that he immediately sent Anthony a thank you note and invited her to attend his show. He offered her a box at any performance she chose. At the start of the performance, Cody entered the ring on horseback, his long gray hair streaming from under his white hat, the silver trim of his jacket glinting in the sun. He kicked his horse into a gallop and raced towards Anthony's box. The audience went quiet. He halted his horse in a burnt of dirt and dust, removed his hat, and with a great sweeping gesture bowed until his head nearly touched the horn of his saddle. Anthony stood and returned the bow and, as enthusiastic as a girl, a friend said, waved her handkerchief at Cody. The significance of the moment escaped no one. Here was one of the greatest heroes of America's past saluting one of the foremost heroes of its future. The encounter brought the audience to its feet in a thunder of applause and cheers. The frontier may indeed have closed at last, as Frederick Jackson Turner proclaimed in his history-making speech at the fair. But for the moment it stood there glittering in the sun, like the track of a spent tear. Like the track of a spent tear? There was tragedy. The British draped their elaborate ship model of the HMS Victoria in black bunting. On June 22nd of 1893, during the maneuvers off Tripoli, Tripoli, This marvel of naval technology had been struck by the HMS Carper Down. The Victoria's commander offered the ship to proceed full speed toward shore, intending to ground her there in accord with standing fleet orders meant to make it easier to raise a sunken ship. 10 minutes later, her engines still at full steam, the cruiser heeled and sank with many of her crew still trapped below decks. Others, lucky enough to have jumped free, now found themselves mauled by her whirling propellers or burned to death when her boilers exploded. Screams and shrieks arose, and in the white foam appeared reddened arms and legs and wrenched and torn bodies, a reporter said. Headless trunks were tossed out of the vortex to linger a moment on the surface and sink out of sight. The accident cost 400 lives. Well, that's fantastic, right? I mean, that's exactly what you want in terms of good PR. I'm not saying it's ethically correct, but the fact that much happened, there's an audience for everything is what I'm trying to get at. Some people are going like, oh, dude, it's dangerous to go there? Oh, dude, no, it's not dangerous. Like, let's go. Like, let's just check it out. Let's check it out. The Ferris wheel quickly became the most popular attraction of the exposition. Thousands rode it every day. In the week beginning July 3rd, Ferris sold 61,395 tickets for a gross return of $30,697.50. The exposition company took about half, leaving Ferris an operating profit for that 1 week of $13,948, equivalent today to about $400,000. Yeah, not bad at all. There were still questions about the wheel's safety, and unfounding stories circulated about suicides and accidents, including one that alleged that a frightened pug had leaped to its death from one of the car's windows. Not true, the Ferris company said. The story was a concoction of a reporter, short on news and long on invention. That is, what a good saying. Short on news, long on invention. Short on news meaning they don't have shit to say, that they don't have any real news to report. Long on invention meaning that they're taking a bet that if they make something up, it's gonna sell. I love that. What a saying. I'm gonna make a little note here on the side. Short on news. Long on invention. That's beautiful. I like that. If not for the wheel's windows and iron grates, however, its record might have been different. On one ride, a latent terror of heights suddenly overwhelmed an otherwise peaceful man named Wear It. He was fine until the car began to move. As it rose, he began to feel ill and nearly fainted. There was no way to signal the engineer below not to stop the wheel. Wear It staggered in panic from one end of the car to the other, driving passengers before him like scared sheep. According to one account, he began throwing himself at the walls of the car with such power that he managed to bend some of the protective iron. The conductor and several male passengers tried to subdue him, but he shook them off and raced for the door. In accord with the wheel's operating procedures, the conductor had locked the door at the start of the ride. Wear It shook it and broke its glass, but could not get it open. As the car entered its descent, Wear It became calmer and laughed and sobbed with relief until he realized the wheel was not going to stop. It always made 2 full revolutions. Wear It again went wild, and again the conductor and his allies subdued him. But they were growing tired. They feared what might happen if Wear It escaped them. Structurally, the car was sound, but its walls, windows, and doors had been designed merely to discourage attempts at self-destruction, not to resist a human pile driver. Fair point, fair point. Already, Wear It had broken glass and bent iron. A woman stepped up and unfastened her skirt. To the astonishment of all aboard, she slipped the skirt off and threw it over where its head, then held it in place while murmuring gentle assurances. The effect was immediate, where it became as quiet as an ostrich. A woman disrobing in public, a man with a skirt over his head. The marvels of the fair seemed endless. That is, what a moment. I think he just had like claustrophobia. He was afraid of Santa Claus. Let's continue. The exposition was Chicago's great pride. Thanks mainly to Daniel Burnham, the city had proved it could accomplish something marvelous against obstacles that by any measure should have humbled the builders. The sense of ownership was everywhere, not just among the tens of thousands of citizens who had bought exposition stock. Hilda Satt noticed it in the change that came over her father as he showed her the grounds. He seemed to take a personal pride in the fair, as if he had helped in the planning, she said. As I look back on those days, most people in Chicago felt that way. Chicago was host to the world at the time, and we were part of it all. But the fair did more than simply stoke pride. It gave Chicago a light to hold against the gathering dark of economic calamity. The Erie Railroad wobbled, then collapsed. Next went the Northern Pacific. In Denver, 3 national banks failed in one day and pulled down an array of other businesses. Fearing a bread riot, city authorities called out the militia. In Chicago, the editors of the Inland Architect tried to be reassuring. Existing conditions are only an accident. Capital is only hidden. Enterprise is only frightened, not beaten. The editors were wrong. In June, 2 businessmen committed suicide on the same day in the same Chicago hotel, the Metropole. One slit his throat with a razor at 10:30 in the morning. The other learned of the suicide from the hotel barber. That night in his own room, he tied one end of the silk sash of his smoking jacket around his neck, then stretched out on the bed and tied the other end to the bedstead. He rolled off. Everyone is in a blue fit of terror, wrote Henry Adams, and each individual thinks himself more ruined than his neighbor. Damn, tough world, man. Long before the fair's end, people began mourning its inevitable passage. Mary Hartwell Catherwood wrote, "What shall we do when this wonderland is closed? When it disappears? When the enchantment comes to an end?" One lady manager, Sally Cotton of North Carolina, a mother of 6 children staying in Chicago for the summer, captured in her diary a common worry that after seeing the fair, everything will seem small and insignificant. Yeah, that's how I felt in New York, basically. The fair was so perfect, its gracious and beauty-like assurance that for as long as it lasted, nothing truly bad could happen to anyone, anywhere. Alright, that is the end of that sub-chapter. Let's check how long this video has gone. If it's, past 40 minutes, we'll make this LG. Yeah, that's perfect. 1 hour, 9 minutes, that's perfect. This will be last game. We'll do some commentating here. Jumping on board here with Poor Bead, not to get him confused with Anal Bead. It looks like he's taking a chug jug, doesn't know where his enemies are. He needs to go towards circle, rocking with a hollow, a laser, some... no, he's actually going with a collateral over the laser. Smart move. A bat is going to prove... I don't know if he wants to give up that bat. I think he should get rid of the gloves. Somebody knows where he is. Just got shot. This is going to be a tight circle. Don't know if he knows where he's going. Don't know if he saw the bat behind him. That is a turret, my friend. You don't gotta play against that. Looks like he's going to play the edge of zone here. Poor Bead again, one more time. Let's not get it confused with Anal Bead, his cousin. It looks like he doesn't know where anybody is. He is rocking with a turret here. The turret might be a game changer. I see a medkit behind him. He probably should look at that. There is a car right there. I don't think you should play that. Don't get behind that either, because somebody was shooting there. Oh, dude, he is pinched here. If I'm him, I'm crawling around. I'm not making any noise. I'm crawling around. You're gonna be exactly to your right, 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 to your right. Oh, go ahead, go ahead. I mean, dude, laser. You're dead. The turret just absolutely demolished that dude's health, by the way. This dude, don't think about going into the... Oh, you can pick up turrets. Oh, that's genius. I didn't know that, actually. Hey, hate to break it to you. You don't have any health. Yeah, they gotta come to you. I don't know if you want to play this way. I really don't know if you want to play this way. Yeah, I would put it down there. You gotta let the turret fight for you in this instance, man. You really do. And you gotta use that bad hope that they don't touch you with any bullets. You're... Oh, 33 health. Wait, can you heal up in the pond? Oh, dude, no. This dude's gotta be an escape artist. It's a 1v1v1. Let's see it. Oh. You gotta hit him with the bat first. Wow. Oh, gosh. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle with a pump and dump.
Choose to follow your instincts.
Choose to shut the hell up.
Is designed to feel like it was.
King Dope won. That is LG for now. Thanks for watching. This has been, I believe, part 16? Anyways, tune in for the next one. Thank you, and until next time, bye-bye.